We talk about the Knicks and getting their 50 wins, and now with Brunson's return, there's a lot of talk about with OG staying hot and Brunson coming back. Can they maintain that edge? Can he maintain that momentum that he's built? And this was a question that was asked by Fred Katz of The Athletic to Tom Thibodeau after the Hawks game. So you were in the building, right?
I was there for that. That was crazy.
All right, so let me play the soundbite, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. Here we go.
With the way OG is
Hang on.
right now.
Let me turn the volume. Volume's kind of low. Hang on.
Oh, that was a great quote.
Yeah, let me. Here we go. Here we go.
Obviously, the scoring numbers have been awesome for him the last however many games. Once Jalen is back, whether it's tomorrow or another day, obviously his style is going to have to change somewhat. Is there anything that he's done during this time with Jalen out that you feel like
no, and the notion of all that stuff is just it's white noise. The game tells you what to do, so whose shot is it in transition? The open man, right? So, and if there's two on somebody, whose shot is it, right? You have the responsibility as a primary scorer to make the right play. So the notion that it has to be this way, that way. No, there has to be a willingness to sacrifice by everybody. The team has to come first. What's best for our team? What gives the team the best chance to win? And that's all everyone should be thinking about. They shouldn't be thinking about who's doing this, who's doing that. That's not the way this game works. If you care about winning, that stuff shouldn't matter.
I guess I mean less about who ends up getting the shot and more about, for example, he's spending less time in the corners now.
He never spent exclusively that notion's a bunch of garbage. And I'll tell you another thing. I value the corners a lot more than most people because I know that's the most valuable spot on the floor. And so he's all over the floor, and that's the way he's scoring. That's the way everybody's scoring. So if you have a drive pass, who's supposed to be in the corner? Right, it's driving kick, and if you're cutting and you're moving without the ball, which is what you're supposed to do, right? If you push the ball up, your first responsibility is to create pace. Your second responsibility is to create movement, and everyone's supposed to read the man in front of them. So if you're reading the man in front of you and he cuts, then you replace in front, right? So that's the way this game works. So that's a bunch of excuse making, and that's the way I see it.
Coach, telling it like it is. What was your reaction in the room when he went off?
I couldn't believe that question spurred that type of reaction from him. But I mean, to his point, look at the first game that Jalen comes back. He has 32 on ridiculous efficiency. So I think Fred's question, there's obviously a good point to be made there, right? When Jalen has the ball in his hand, sometimes guys are standing still and the guys are figuring out why he's playing either two-man game with Cat or he's getting to the rim or getting to the foul line, however it is. We understand that. But also on the flip side of that, which is also to Fred's question, the way OG was playing without Jalen with the ball in his hands, sure, you want to take advantage of that. And how you do that is by putting them on the floor and letting them figure that out. OG said in the locker room after the last game, hey, we knew that we couldn't put too much on Jalen right away coming back after being a month off. So, of course, I'm going to want to be aggressive. But he's also want to say I'm aggressive every night. So that finding that balance is going to be interesting, especially with these last 4 games left coming into the playoffs. After those 4 games, the Knicks are going to have a week of practice time, right, where they're going to be able to work through all this to try to figure out that balance. But I think this is a good problem to have. I wouldn't even call it a problem. You have a wealth of options right now, and you just have to figure out how to best utilize each one. And I think that's kind of what when the Knicks named Jalen captain this summer, and they brought on Karl Anthony Towns, they brought on Mikal Bridges, they re-signed OG Anunoby. Jalen knew his role was going to change a little bit because he had more mouths to feed than he did last season, right? He's not one to say we didn't have enough last year to win, but it's clear the roster is different. You have more offensive options, and he knew that if you just look at the stats, he's averaging a career high in assists right now. He's a guy that's going to have to get everybody involved, and that goes back to what we were talking about with Josh Hart earlier. If you get guys like OG, you get guys like Mikal and Cat involved early on, and then you lean on Jalen in the fourth, that's a recipe to win. Josh also said that's a recipe to let Jalen use some of his energy on the defensive end earlier on and conserve some of that offensive for later on. So we'll see how they work through the kinks in the offense. I don't think there's going to be any kinks. I think Jalen's going to come back and find that balance because he's that good and because that's the job they gave him at the beginning of the year. As soon as you bring guys like Cat and Mikal, you got more offensive weapons. You got to take advantage of them. I think Jalen's going to do that.
Yeah, I think he will, man. The captain is smart. He has no ego, and he sees it, man. When these guys have it, you feed them. When they don't have it is takeover time. That's what makes him a superstar in this league. Now, look, there's 5 guys in this lineup. There's a lot of mouths to feed. You factor in another offensive dynamo like a Deuce coming off the bench. Right. Everybody's not going to have those numbers every single night, especially when the captain, Jalen Brunson, is going to have the ball. He is Captain Clutch for a reason. And so, look, there was a lot of nights during this season where you saw the offense was pretty diverse with all 5 guys in double figures. Some nights, a lot of nights it was Jalen in the high points. A lot of nights it was Cat in the high points. OG's had 40 pieces, 30 pieces with Brunson on the floor. McCall, same way. Josh, same way. So, look, I think it is going to vary. Sure, there will be times when guys are going to be standing around ball watching. You don't want that to be a habit. But I think these guys will work it out. And look, give them some more time to develop that chemistry offensively. When you have 5 guys like this who can all be able to score, who are all able to score in different ways, in a variety of ways. But to me, man, most importantly, they got to get the defense together. They've been playing well, but at the end of the day, this team's true ceiling in this postseason is going to depend on how well they defend, and especially if they get to, which I expect them to get to, the second round. They've got to lock in and play defense. Offensively, they will be fine, but if they can't lock in and get stops, none of this is going to matter. OG could drop 50, but if they give it up 60 on the other side, it don't even matter.
100%. And couple notes. The Knicks are a top 10 defense since Mitchell Robinson came back. Let's get that out the way right away. This team hasn't had Mitchell Robinson all year. He comes back in, completely changes what this team is capable of doing, and he gives Tom Thibodeau more rotation versatility because you could play him with Cat, you could play him with Precious, or you could play him with Mitch. Not Mitch. You could play him with OG. You can play him with so many different guys out there that it just gives you more time to let other guys rest. Right? You can play around with these lineups. On top of that, we got a chance to see what it looks like with Deuce in the starting lineup. We got a chance to see what it looks like with DeLon Wright in the starting lineup. With DeLon Wright in there, you're getting deflections, you're getting activity, right? So the question becomes, can they continue this defensive pressure with Jalen Brunson back on the floor, right? And the season could depend on that, because we look at that series, we're looking at, there's no way around. You're going to have to get to Boston, right?
Yes.
And when you look at the last few games against the Celtics, what do they do when the games get tight? They clear it out. They get the switch on to Brunson, and they attack that every single time until Tom Thibodeau calls a timeout. It's just what happens, right? So the Knicks have to find a way to get that down, right? But if they can find a way to address that, and now this is going to be what it's going to take, because especially once you get to the playoffs, you're playing the same team every single game, and the same team is going to try to pick on weak links. It's a matchups. It's styles make fights, right? So how are the Knicks going to prepare for this fight against what's looking like could be the Pistons, could be the Bucks? We're not sure. That's their weakest link right now on defense. So how are they going to compensate for that? We'll see. But to your point, that's the level to which this team can defend is going to dictate how far they can get into the playoffs. Now, granted, even if they string together one of the best defensive series they've ever put together, Boston is the reigning champion, right? There's no shame in losing to the Celtics in the second round. It's just a matter of how does it happen? Is it competitive, or is the margin of loss 21 points like it's been in all 3 of these games so far on average? So we'll see, but defense is going to be the concern. I think Mitch is going to help with that. I think lineups with Mitch, Cat, and OG are really going to help with that, because you're going to have the length to put behind Jalen. And then you throw McHale out there guarding the point of attack. These guys just have to get on the same page in terms of communicating, and they're going to have to help. That's going to be the name of the game. You got to help.
No question about it. And as Christian mentioned, the playoffs, hey, Knicks fans, playoff tickets have been released today, and they are pretty penny. I'm not even going to lie to you, man. So for those of you out there that are looking for tickets, and if it's sold out on Ticketmaster, or you're looking for a good deal, head over to SeatGeek and use our code KFTV10 for 10% off your tickets. That's what SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app and the official ticketing app of KnicksFanTV. We were just in Atlanta, and before the game, people at the meetup were using our SeatGeek code to get very cheap, because in Atlanta, they very cheap tickets off of SeatGeek. So for those of you that are trying to get into the Garden, as Christian said, it's already starting to get hyped. It's the hottest ticket in the league. Go to SeatGeek.com, use the SeatGeek app. Look for the green dots. That will indicate whether the deal is like from amazing down to good. The red dots, you might want to stay away from them and wait it out a little bit. Look for those. The green dots, the red dots are bad. Green dots are good. KFTV 10 with our friends over at SeatGeek.